Even though Tekadon, they finally got their revenge. They avenged Naze and the turbines. Even though they did that, it doesn't feel like they got anything out of it. And I feel like that's what the message of this episode was, of Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. The message of this episode is that the dead is dead. No matter what you do, no matter what you want to do about it, they're gone. There's nothing you can do to bring them back. You can seek out and try to get revenge and take down the person that caused you harm, but once you do, you're left with nothing, and the target of all your emotions is no longer there, and you're left empty. And I feel like what this episode is trying to represent is that even though Tekadon took down Jazly, they brought this man down that was an absolute scumbag, this man that caused all the problems in recent episodes and caused all this conflict. Even though he died in this episode, it doesn't feel like Tekadon really got anything out of it. In fact, they lost more than they gained because of doing this. And I feel like the message here is that revenge is very empty. There's nothing you really get out of it. You could go and seek out the person that caused you harm, but at the end of the day, once you do, there's nothing left. There's no longer any person for you to target that rage at, and then you're just left empty. You're like, what do I do? And you clearly see that on the faces of Tekadon, especially Orgo, when he realizes they finally accomplished it. I mean, they lost way more than what they accomplished in this episode. I mean, you gotta think about it. They finally disconnected from Teiwaz. They're no longer affiliated with them. You know, they lost Naze and the Turbines. And then now, you know, the stuff that's going on with, you know, Galahorn. I mean, they lost a lot. I mean, they've gained some, but overall, they've lost a lot more than they gained. And you can clearly see that way they react at the end of this episode, the way they all feel after everything is said and done. And I'm like, damn, this was a very powerful episode to show how pointless revenge might be sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes you have to go and get your revenge. But at the end of the day, once you finally accomplish it, you're left with nothing. And I like the concept of this episode and the way the writers tried to do that with this episode of Gundam, trying to show us that we don't feel any better after Jazly is dead. I mean, I wish this man a brutal death, and honestly, I felt like he died too easy. I felt like it should have been a lot worse. But overall, though, even though he's dead, and I'm glad he's gone, I don't feel any better, because everything that he already did is already have happened. For instance, you know, Naze and the Turbine's gone and all that, and what's happened with Teiwaz, all that's gone. It's been ruined, or whatever. And so, no matter what happens, even if Jazly is to die, and even if Eok is to die next week, it doesn't change anything what has already happened. So, what's done is done. So, well done, Gundam, for that little message of how we could feel so upset and angry at certain characters, or, you know, how life takes us down this certain path, and then once we accomplish it, we get our revenge, it tends to be nothing. We're left with nothing. So, enough with that. Let's talk about the scene with Eok. So, Eok, his shit has been revealed to the entire world. Galahorn did, like, a big speech and all that, saying, you know, what's going on with Rustle and all that, and what's going on with Eok. He's on house arrest right now. On top of that, all of his treacheries and what he did with using the illegal weapons to, you know, framing the turbines and all this, working with Teiwaz. All of this stuff is now on the table, and so Eok is getting his just desserts, which that's exactly what I wanted, because to be honest with you, I don't think Eok should die. Now, hear me out. Yes, I hate that person. I fucking hate Eok. That man, despicable piece of shit. But I don't think he should die. And the reason for this is because death would be too easy. It would be too easy for his character. See, the thing about revenge, as I already said, it leaves you empty and hollow. But the best thing about revenge is when you don't end it so quickly, when someone is sitting there squirming. For instance, if they wouldn't have killed off Jazly so quickly, Tekadon might have been able to kind of allow this man to suffer more, which might have given him a little bit more of time to have their target of revenge towards him. But regardless, though, Eok, I don't think should necessarily be killed off. I feel like everything should be ripped from this man. I feel like all of his status with his family, his noble family, should be just completely ripped apart. Even his family members should be ripped apart, and he should no longer be a part of it. He's disowned or whatever happens, and he has to just realize he's locked up in prison or whatever happens. I feel like that's a fitting end for his character instead of him actually dying, because if he died, it would just be too quick. It'd be too easy for him, and I feel like the best way to get revenge against this man is by thereby allowing him to continue on living in disgrace, realizing he can't make up for what he has done, how he has fucked everyone over. I feel like that's the perfect way to get back at Eok. And so what's happening in this episode, with how that was revealed, the Chocolate Man kind of threw that on the table, that lets us know that Eok is getting what we wanted. He's getting that, you know, payback, that bad karma, because of what he did a couple episodes ago. Now, enough with that. Let's talk about the narration at the end of the episode. So there was some narration, and the narration is very eerie, because that fated day, that's what is mentioned, and as soon as I hear something like that, I'm like, uh-oh. Fated day, narration, telling of some ominous event in the future, that means characters are gonna die. A lot of characters are going to die, and I'm kind of worried right now, because, I mean, we know that probably, you know, Mika, he's probably not gonna live. I mean, if, you know, Gundam, Iron Blood Orphan ends, you know, in 2 seasons, I don't think Mika's gonna live. I really do not think he's gonna live to the end, because of how his body's all fucked up. And so, because of this, that fated day, that narration at the end scared the shit out of me, like, uh-oh, death flags on everybody, like, every single character just got a death flag because of that narration. I'm like, that's not good, that's not good at all. So, yeah, shit's about to be going down very soon. And you know what? I'm kind of glad that we got rid of Jazzly quickly. I really am. Because now we could focus on Galahorn. I mean, I like how Tekkadan got their revenge and all that, and they went out of their way to take care of Jazzly. But I feel like what's going on with, you know, Galahorn, you know, the rebellion, how it's a revolution going on, all this type of stuff with Galahorn, I feel like that's way more important and more entertaining than what was going on with Jazzly. I'm just gonna be blunt with all of you. I felt like Galahorn should be the main front and center of what's going on with the plot. I mean, with the mobile armor and stuff that has happened recently to this right now, what's going on with Galahorn, I feel like that's more entertaining than what we were dealing with when it comes to Jazzly. Now, don't get me wrong, I like feeling emotions, I like being angry at certain characters, but I mean, overall, I feel like Galahorn's more important, and so this getting out of the way quicker, it actually leaves more time for the series to focus on Galahorn, develop some of these characters, show the conflict, and also show what the Chocolate Man is really after, what he wants at the end of the series. So I'm pretty excited to see where it's going to go in the direction that Gundam is going to go because of this episode, and so it was a very good setup episode, and it was also one of those episodes to show you that maybe sometimes going for revenge is kind of pointless. So well done, Gundam. Well done episode. I gotta say, can't wait for next week's episode. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about this week's episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.